episodes of Paranormal Minds. I'm your host, Shannon Ray, and I want to thank you for joining us on this evening. I know here in Georgia it is snowing, so I'm really glad I have internet. Let's put it that way, because anybody that lives in Georgia or anywhere in the South, the second it snows and then the wind blows, the power and internet goes out. So, but we're not going to have anything like that tonight. But tonight I am joined by Miss Kelly Walden, and I want to take a moment to tell you about Kelly. Kelly Sullivan Walden is a dream coach that specializes in empowering people to live the life of their dreams. She began her career as a dream sleuth at the age of 5. Growing up, Kelly and her younger sister shared a room. Every morning, the two girls would wake up excited to share their dreams and compare notes about what they thought their nighttime adventures might have meant. They bought up every dream dictionary they could find and poured through them to widen the spectrum of their understanding. When Kelly grew a little older, she became interested in Carl Jung, I hope I said that right, Carlos Castaneda, and in addition to many other spiritual and other kinds of teachers who took her understanding of dreams to a deeper level. And without further ado, and I'm sure I butchered that dude's name, I want to bring in Kelly Walden. How are you doing, Kelly?
I'm doing great, Shannon. It's so wonderful to connect with you.
Yeah, I hope I didn't mutilate that name too much.
That's okay. I'm sure he doesn't mind. It's spelled like it would sound Jung, Jung, but people pronounce it Yoon, like Yoong. But he's the late great father of psychotherapy, and he kind of he was a contemporary student of Freud's, actually.
Wow.
And he learned a lot from Freud, but then definitely didn't agree with him on certain issues, and developed a more spiritual approach to dreams and psychotherapy, and kind of took off on his own. And he's definitely like the grandfather of the work that I do. He's the one that brought the study of archetypes into psychology, and the work with the shadow and the anima and the animus, like the inner female, inner masculine, and that's one of the ways that I look at dreams. So we can talk more about that tonight. But anyway, Carl Jung is the official pronunciation, but who would know that?
Yeah, I got it. I'm gonna store it in my database. But I see so many. Like, I feel bad because I see so many of these odd last names, and I totally butcher last names. Like, I don't do it on purpose. I really don't. It's just one of those things. It just kind of happens.
It's part of the way it goes. My dad does the same thing. He talks about actors. He says, Martin Scorsese?
Yeah.
Like, no, it's Scorsese, Dad. What about that Joe Pesci? No, it's Joe Pesci.
Yeah. But, even like with you saying them, I can repeat them back to you. But if I have to go like from my memory, right, I'm going to still butcher it. It's not that I don't know it. It's just, it just comes out all defunct.
It's part of your character. It's sweet. It's charming. Don't ever change.
Well, I want to start talking about you, and you kind of started your interest with dreams at only 5 years of age, and that's really early. So, how was that for you, and kind of what prompted that transition into the interest of dreams?
Well, I think I told you a little bit about this when we talked a couple of days ago, but I have 4 sisters, and I'm close and with all of them, and I love them all, but the sister that I'm the closest to in age and in resonance is my sister Shannon. She shares your name.
Yeah.
So it's special for me to get to talk about dreams with someone named Shannon, because she's still my favorite person to talk about dreams with. She's magical. So she and I always shared a bedroom, and throughout the different places that we lived in and all of that. And we had this psychic connection, and we still do, where we can read each other's minds. And a lot of, any sibling or any 2 people that are close tend to do this. But what was special about our relationship that I found out later, I didn't know it was special at the time, was that often we would have dreams, and when we would share them with each other, we would realize that we had very similar dreams, if not the very same dream from time to time. So it was almost like we couldn't wait to go to sleep at night to see what dreams we were going to have and to see where we would go and see if we would end up in the same place with the same people doing the same things. And so sharing our morning dream report over Frosted Flakes in the morning before we'd go to school was a real exciting part of what we would do. And so that just got me interested in dreams, because I found that my sister and I both had a knowing at an early age that there was something magical about dreams, and we were always on the hunt for anything that was magical, and dreams was like, gold mine, always something magical there. And then growing up, I continued my fascination with dreams and found that mostly it seemed like with regards to relationship issues, my dreams were really helpful. They would help to give me guidance about who was right for me, who wasn't right for me, who was cheating on me, or who was not a good match for me, or who wasn't. So I would have dreams that would be very telling, that I paid attention to, and they tended to prove right. And then I got into my 20s, and as most people do when they start getting more focused on the outer world and less focused on the inner world, my focus on dreams started to dissipate during that time. I was an actress, and I was really focused on the outer world and what people thought of me, and if I was making the grade, if I was getting the part or not. So my dreams definitely took a back seat during that time. And interestingly, if I look at my life kind of in an overview, I can see that time in my life was the darkest time in my life, because I was so cut off from dreams and cut off from my inner world. But I had a dark night of the soul. I had a really kind of, I guess, a quarter life breakdown, you could say, that put me on the path to finding myself again, coming back in sync with my dreams and back in sync with my spirit, with my soul. And my dreams started kicking up again. I became a certified clinical hypnotherapist. That was almost 18 years ago. I've been practicing ever since, and my own personal dream work has amplified. My work with clients has amplified, and it led to me writing a book and another book and another book and hitting the bestseller list, and kind of having dreams become everything to me. Because in a nutshell, paying attention to nighttime dreams, I find it's a way to be able to connect with that bridge that connects us to the psychic realm, to the realm of our intuition, to the realm of the higher guides and higher beings that we want to be connected to while we're here on Earth. So dreams, that's my go-to place for that guidance. And that's kind of what I do. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. And I completely agree with you when in regards to dreams making that connection to a psychic bridge almost. Because so many, I've always been one. That's one reason why when I did my research on you, I was so fascinated by your work, because I've always been the one to think that dreams hold the keys. That your dreams connect you to things that you don't even understand, whether it's trying to give you a heads up, or it's your inner conscience, or it takes a deeper meaning into you.
It's very true. And the funny thing is that everything that you just said is true. Our dreams are the key to a deeper understanding. They offer insight, guidance, and yet it's so strange that our dreams are so strange. And people often say, well, then if they're that important, then why don't they reveal themselves? Why are they so obscure? Why are they like riddles? Why can't they just spell it out clearly? And there's a lot of reasons for that. But one reason is that in order to decode a dream, you have to rise up to a higher level in your consciousness in order to access the realm where dreams make sense. So it's kind of like you can't just stay where you're at on the mundane level and expect your dreams to roll out the red carpet and give you their answers, because then you won't have to. It's because you have to become the answer. You have to become that wiser version of yourself. So dreams kind of they're like that carrot. Like, in order to understand them, you have to raise yourself up to a higher place. And in so doing, you become a better version of yourself. Kind of a strange parallel. Yeah. A friend of mine works with autistic children. And she said that most people look at an autistic child and think, well, they're talking a bunch of nonsense. They don't make any sense. She said, however, they are making perfect sense if you move to a higher place in your own understanding. If you raise yourself to a higher place, you can decode what they're saying and it makes perfect sense, and you realize that they're actually speaking on a higher level. So in a way, dreams are like that. They're speaking to us at a higher level, and in order to decode it, we just have to raise our vibration. And there's ways to do that. I have a formula to be able to do that. So if it's hard, you can kind of take these stair steps up and get to a place where it does start to make sense. I'd be happy to share that if you're interested.
Yeah, well, you know what's so funny? I'll be the first one to tell you, I have some of the weirdest dreams that make me think I need to stop watching sci-fi before I go to bed. But I have so many dreams that do make sense. I'm not one of these. I don't have all weird dreams. Like, I'll have a weird one every now and again that seriously I really do think I need to stop watching science fiction before I go to bed kind of deal, you know? But usually my dreams make complete sense. And a lot of my dreams I've noticed are based upon like fears that I have in my consciousness, you know, it's not even like regular phobias like snakes and stuff like that, but it's just like, you know, fears that I'm working with in my daily life come out in my dreams a lot of the time. And I've noticed, but a lot of my dreams, I'm not one of these, I don't have dreams that just don't always make sense. Most of my dreams always make sense.
I would say that's probably the fact that it makes sense to you means that you probably are already operating on that higher level where you can decode what's happening in your waking life and in your dream life, and you're kind of, you must be a higher vibrational being. So good for you.
Except for when I watch too much sci-fi, then my dreams come out extremely. I wake up sometimes and I'm like, God, I gotta stop this, because like this is like, I just think back and I'm like, in what brain world did I even think up of this, you know?
Right.
And so, do you believe, like, truly that some people can just not dream? Is it possible?
No. It's very rare if somebody actually doesn't dream, and usually it's considered a disorder if you don't dream, and there's usually medical reasons for it. A person's usually, so most people, if they're at all sane and rational and functional, are dreaming, whether they remember them or not. In fact, the average person dreams anywhere between 3 to 9 big dreams every night, and those are the REM cycle dreams, the rapid eye movement cycle dreams, where the dreams are really vivid and really, colorful and alive. So we all have those big dreams every single night. The only exceptions to those rules would be people that are on heavy medication, or they have a real disorder happening psychologically. And even in those instances, they're dreaming, but their dreams are just really hard to remember and hard to access. Mm-hmm. But most ordinary people do dream every night, and most people don't remember them upon awakening because of what happens when our brain switches off from sleep to awake. We get lost in that translation. It's kind of like we don't get the baton that's being passed because we're not looking in the right direction. Mm-hmm. But if we slow down during the early morning hours, especially as we transition from sleep to awake, then it's like we can catch the baton and then we can run with it. But if we wake up too fast and run to our computers or run to our iPhones and start doing all the things that most people do, then it's like you've lost the connection.
Yeah. You start losing it. So as far as nightmares go, do you believe nightmares are a reality? How do you explain individuals who have night terrors?
This is strangely one of my favorite topics, because as a therapist and a coach, I find a lot of juice, and I consider myself to be kind of an alchemist of sorts. So if you give me a nightmare, I can find the gold in it and help people to work with it. So every dream is a reality unto itself. Inside the dream, it is real. Just like right now, what we're experiencing, we think this is real, but this is an extension of the dream. We've co-created this. There's a similar quality to this reality that we're experiencing and our nighttime reality. It's just the nighttime reality in our dreams is devoid of the structure and the density, but it's still a dream. So yes, our nightmares are a reality. And to me, nightmares most of the time are a sign of health and well-being. We don't have them all the time, but and sometimes people that have post-traumatic stress disorder will get stuck in a loop with a particular dream, and it's not and they need help to be able to get out of that cycle. But most of the time, a typical nightmare is a healthy sign for an average person, because usually a nightmare is an indication that there's some form of imbalance happening in your life, and that's part of being alive. So if you've got any repressed anger or any repressed fear or any repressed anxiety, usually our dreams will amplify that in order to express it so that it gets out. There's that saying, what is repressed must express. But most of us in our waking lives, if we're scared of something, we internalize it. It's not socially acceptable for us to run out of a room just because somebody intimidates us, or for us to punch somebody in the face if they say something that bothers us. Usually we breathe and we smile and we hold it in, and then our dreams take all of that and express it, get it out of our system so that we're not pent up for the rest of our lives. So it's healthy. And yet there's, it's kind of, and in addition to that, a nightmare, from my understanding, is an incomplete dream. It's an unfinished dream. Just like if you go see a horror movie or even a sci-fi movie and you stop the movie before it's over, like 5 minutes before the ending, it would be like, oh my God, the world is about to explode, oh no. But if you finish the story, often there's a happy ending. Often the hero ends up victorious. So I always tell people, if you have a nightmare, go back into it, even in your waking state, in a meditative state, and imagine that you're the director of the dream or of the nightmare. And if you have the power, which you do, ask yourself, how would you finish this dream? Can I give you an example of a really scary dream that I had and what I did to finish it?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is, so in a nutshell, I had a dream about a guy, and often the scary figures in dreams tend to be, at least for women, most of the time that I hear, it's like the scary man that's wanting to kill you or hurt you. So I had a dream where that was the case, and it was really terrifying, and he was like basically on the hunt to kill everybody, and I was hiding behind the bushes hoping he wouldn't see me, and I was so scared because I knew he knew I was there. And there was no way that I was strong enough or lucid enough in the dream to know how to overcome him in the dream. So I had to wake myself up. So I woke myself up, and with my heart palpitating, I was shaking, I was scared. I thought, okay, how can I finish this dream inside the integrity of the dream? And I didn't know how at first because it was just way too scary. But what I did was I eventually imagined that, like in a movie, you know how you can zoom in on something in a movie or zoom out. So I imagined that I zoomed way, way out. And I was looking at this scene from like the sky's perspective. And I saw that everyone in the dream had this kind of gossamer connection. It was like a cord that was connected to God or to whatever was a higher source, except for this guy. This guy that was going around killing everybody had no connection. He was completely disconnected. So I thought, oh, that's interesting. So maybe the reason he's going around trying to kill everybody, he's trying to get everybody's power because he has none of his own. Mm-hmm. So in my reimagined dream, I plugged him back in. I imagined where his cord was, and I connected him back to source. Mm-hmm. And I saw him kind of have these convulsions and like, ah! And then I saw him take a big deep breath, and all of a sudden he went from being completely crazy and insane to being somewhat normal, almost like he woke up from a nightmare. And then he carried on about his business in a peaceful way. So I woke up from that experience feeling really empowered, and I felt like I didn't just keep him at bay, and now I had to be afraid if he was going to come back on another night. I knew I was complete with him because I got to finish the dream. I got to find a solution for either that aspect of myself or that entity or whatever he was. I feel like I helped him to complete what needed to be completed. So I woke up from that entire experience feeling empowered, and that's what's possible if you can complete a dream. Does that make sense?
It makes absolute sense. And that kind of brings me into a different question. Are you able, to focus on and almost control what dreams you go into when you're like going to sleep? Is that what you're, implying?
Yes and no. I mean, there's lucid dreaming is an area of specialty that few people actually have. It takes a lot of discipline. I've had several lucid dreams myself, but I wouldn't say that I'm a lucid dream expert. But if people want to become lucid dream experts, they certainly can. I know a lot of people that do, and they dedicate a good amount of their lives to the sport or to this field of study, because it's quite fascinating. I tend to be mostly of the philosophy that I want my dreams to reveal to me what I want them, what they have in store for me, and I want to learn from them as much as I can. So it's a little bit of a different thing. Most lucid dreamers, I mean, there's so many different ways of looking at it. So the short answer to your question is yes, you can, to a certain extent, control what happens in your dream. Not completely. I mean, you can't completely fabricate the dream and completely orchestrate every quality in every person, but you can exert your will in a dream if you become aware in the dream that you're dreaming. And it's a practice. And it's not an easy practice, but it's one that is definitely worth exploring. But what I was saying earlier about how to finish a nightmare is this is more for the average person that probably isn't going to dedicate their lives to lucid dreaming. But they do want to pay attention to their dreams, and they want to grow and become and have a better life as a result of it. So what I'm implying is that once you wake up from a dream, if you feel dissatisfied or you feel uncomfortable or filled with anxiety because of the dream, you can, in a state of meditation, connect to what I call that dream bridge by thinking about it, by meditating on it, and imagining with your imagination, how you would complete the dream. So you don't have to actually fall back asleep and be in the dream in order to access it and to create an empowered resolution. In fact, there's scientific studies that they've done at Walter Reed Research and Harvard Medical School where they show that this practice, and the fancy term for it is imagery rehearsal therapy, where it absolutely does work to change a dream, especially a recurring dream that the people have had for years. You can actually stop it and change it and create a new recurring dream or a new theme by doing this. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And that's a neat thing to be able to do. Now, as far as dreams and the scale of things, I gotta ask because, I might sound kind of silly, but, some of us, we sometimes have dreams about, hot actors, and, a lot of women have like those little Harlem love story dreams, And so it leads me to the question, is any dream meaningless? Is there always necessarily meaning in a dream? Even these ones you have, like women have fantasy dreams, is there meaning in those dreams?
My pat answer to that question is yes, there's always meaning to the dream. Just because it doesn't initially make sense, or just because our initial interpretation is like, oh, wow, I was just blowing off steam having that dream about Brad Pitt again, or having that dream about like whoever your heartthrob is. To me, if we look for it, we find the deeper meaning in it. And I've done this. I mean, I had a dream just a couple of days ago that I woke up with, and I thought, oh, that was ridiculous. Come on. Can't I have better dreams than that? That was just a throwaway dream. Mm-hmm. And as I'm thinking now, it's like, no, it wasn't. You just didn't look deeply enough. So, I mean, there really are big dreams and smaller dreams, we could say, even though I think it's relative. Some dreams you wake up with, and the moment you wake up, like, okay, that dream will change my life, or that dream was so powerful, oh my God. So some of us wake up with those dreams, and those clearly are the bigger dreams in life. And then sometimes we have dreams that may seem less significant, and they might be less significant. I heard one person say it like, sometimes you're watching a movie and then there's a commercial that comes on. So the movie is more important than the commercial, but there's still value in it. So I don't throw any dream away. Every single dream I remember, I write it down and I look into it, I meditate on it, and I remain open to the question, what is the deeper meaning of this dream, and how may I honor this dream, no matter what it is. And yet, I can say, at least in my estimation, there are some dreams that are bigger than the others. And some of the sexy dreams, sex dreams are like you were just kind of bringing up, those can be significant, because sometimes the people that we bond with in our dreams in an intimate way, they can represent an aspect of ourselves that we're having a deeper connection with. Because it's not necessarily about lust. It's not necessarily about having the hots for the guy at work or the celebrity or whoever it is. I mean, although that may be the case, but often, because Carl Jung, the one we were talking about at the beginning of this interview, said that everyone in our dreams is us. Everyone in our dreams belongs to the dreamer. So they're aspects of ourselves. So if you dream, like I had a dream not that long ago, this is kind of embarrassing, about a really hot Latin man. And let's face it, that's kind of my ideal type. Uh-huh. And he was, in my dream, he was whispering in my ear all this, like, oh my God, like telling me, you're beautiful, you're alive. I was like, wow, oh my God, I guess I'm going to have to sleep with him, even though I'm married. And this was all going through my mind in the dream, and it was so sexy. And I woke up and I realized, okay, wait a minute, don't look at this at face value. Yes, it was really fun, but he represents this masculine aspect of myself that is in sync and honoring the feminine aspect of myself. So I went around that day feeling really unified within myself, because often the masculine and the feminine aspects of ourselves are doing battle with one another. We're either working too hard, or we're either relaxing too much and being lethargic, and often we're not in sync. So to me, that dream was not only fun and sensual, but it also left me feeling really balanced and gave me a really good anchor for how I'd prefer to be in my life. How does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. It absolutely, at least, I have some validation to offer my husband when I have these dreams now.
Absolutely. It wasn't just the football team. It was my inner football team, honey.
Exactly.
I was embracing all of the masculine aspects of myself. It's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And it goes for him, too, when he has his lusty dreams, too. You got to go, okay, he's embracing.
He doesn't, but see, I talk in my sleep, so he doesn't get caught in his. I get caught in mine. Because he says he can talk to me, and I answer him back about what I'm dreaming. And so it's like a total violation of me. But now I have something to back it up.
It's like, honey, I'm becoming more balanced, and I will bring all that balanced, juicy energy to you.
Exactly.
I really don't. It's really healthy. I mean, I always like to say there's exceptions to the rule where some people can get there's imbalances for sure. And one time, way back in my seedy past, I had an ex-boyfriend who I was having sex dreams about him and another woman. And I would tell him about it, and on this one day, he looked really nervous when I told him about it. I was like, why are you looking so nervous? And I realized later he was having an affair, and I was seeing it psychically. So there's exceptions to the rule where it isn't just about you, where you are seeing something, and that was a gift. And so I got to, that was a really difficult time in my life, but I was grateful ultimately that I had that. So, but I would say, you could safely say to your husband, the dreams that I'm having are about me finding balance in myself so that I can become a more substantial, solid, beautiful version of myself.
I love it. I absolutely love it. All right, so I want to move into, I had the strangest dream, the Dreamer's Dictionary of the 21st Century. And just for everybody, it's been up on your screen throughout the night, but Kelly's website currently is below me and Kelly. It's www.kellysullivanwalden.com. Write it down. Be sure to check her out. You can get information about all of her books on there, and the books are available on Amazon. I'm sure they're like in Barnes & Noble too, right, Kelly?
Yep. Absolutely. Everywhere books are sold.
Yeah. All right, Kelly. So the Dreamer's Dictionary for the 21st Century. Can you kind of take a moment to give us like a brief synopsis of this book and kind of tell us what sets it apart from other dream dictionaries?
Yeah. So basically, it's a 21st century dream dictionary, as opposed to a traditional dream dictionary. So you won't find a horse and buggy in my dictionary. You won't find clothespins hanging up clothes on whatever. I mean, you're mostly going to see things that are very contemporary, like cell phones and iPhones and frappuccinos and texting, things that are contemporary symbols that the modern dreamers dream about. We often will dream about being on Facebook or being on Twitter or being, using our cell phones to communicate with somebody. So that's, there's my dog saying,
Yeah.
Hi guys, hello, let me see if I can, okay, they're wanting to be known. Who let the dogs out?
It's all right.
Yeah, sometimes they like to do that. So maybe you can, while I shush them, oh no, okay. Hey guys, come here. Excuse me, that's what happens when we Skype. On my phone, I can mute, but can't mute on Skype. Anyway, so there's 3,000 dream symbols defined in the book. It's a dreamer's dictionary for the 21st century. My God. Shannon?
Yes, ma'am.
Forgive me. Let me shush them.
You are absolutely fine. What we will do is I have a video that I wanted to show anyways that I snatched off your website. So we'll go ahead and play that video for everyone while you work with your doggies.
Okay, great.
All right, we'll be right back, guys.
You're going to open up a door for this family. I know that you will solve this today.
He's not alive.
Is literally dreamy. She's an expert on dreams. Do you guys remember your dreams? Yeah. I'll bet you have questions about them too. Please welcome hypnotherapist and the author of I Had the Strangest Dream, the Dreamer's Dictionary for the 21st Century, Kelly Sullivan Walden.
God, it's so great to meet you.
Left your slippers on.
I know. Is that okay?
That's okay.
So
That's
coordinated.
okay.
Have you ever had a dirty dream? Well, you know I have. What does it mean? Dream analyzer and best-selling author Kelly Sullivan Walden is here to decode our dirty dreams. Let's look at the first dream.
On the Dr. Oz Show, all new. Master your dreams to improve your health.
It's changed my life.
How to retrain your brain while you sleep to reduce your stress and even lose weight. What do your dreams mean?
Your subconscious mind is 88% of your mind's power.
The dream Dr. Oz can't shake. Explain.
What's wrong with me? Should you go there? I don't know.
Next.
Kelly, what does that mean? That doesn't sound good.
Okay, it doesn't sound good. And I think with zombies, I think of them as, look at everything as a symbol. A zombie represents somebody that's sleepwalking, that's not really fully alive. So I would say there may be some aspect of her, she's afraid that she's going to fall in step with being a sleepwalker. The goal is to be a lucid, somebody who lives lucidly.
You sound like it was wonderful. You need to get back on that lawnmower naked. I mean, for real. She was riding the lawnmower bareback.
Oh my God.
you're, in a way, you're like the poster child of how we should all treat our sexual dreams. You're like fully reveling in it. You're not ashamed. You're not guilt-ridden. It's almost like you're still riding that lawnmower. And you're taking all of us with you.
Joining me is renowned dream analyst Kelly Sullivan Walden, author of It's All in Your Dreams. So what do you think that bizarre dream might signify? What's wrong with me?
Well, first of all,
Okay, and we are back with Kelly Walden, whose doggies are now not loud no more.
Oh, man.
And I accidentally started showing the wrong video, but I quickly realized it and fixed it. My bad.
It's kind of like a dream. We're having a dream, and things go. You think they're going a certain way, and then they go like this, and then we just kind of flow with it.
It takes like a sharp left turn real quick, and then we're gonna get back on the straight and narrow.
Right.
So, are there hidden messages in our dreams, whether it's symbolism or stuff of that nature? Is there hidden messages?
Oh, yeah. I always like to say that our dreams speak the language of symbol, which is our first language. So no matter if you're French or Spanish or Italian or Chinese, our first language is the language of symbol. Like if you go back to caveman days, the images on the cave walls were symbols of the sun and a stick and an animal and it's like so our first language is symbol. Dreams speak the language of symbol. And we speak that way anyway, even though we're a bit more sophisticated, we don't realize how symbolic we are. But our dreams are full of symbols. And if we look at them for their symbolic value, they'll start to reveal something to us. So, for example, in our waking life, we might use the metaphor, if a door closes and then a window may open, or if, when pigs fly, or something like that. So, but when those things happen in our dreams, we're like, but why did the door close, and then the window opened, and then a pig was flying? Why would that's so weird.
Yeah.
But really, if we think, wait a minute, no, we use those metaphors in our waking life. So that would mean whatever the obvious opportunity is that you're trying to make happen, that ain't it. But something else will happen. And it may be something that seems absolutely miraculous, like it would be if a pig flew. So we have to think about how we look at things, how we would speak it out loud, like what the function of it is. And I can give an example, or if you have a dream, Shannon, or if any of your viewers or listeners have dreams, I'd be happy to do an example of how we can pull some of the symbols out of a seemingly ordinary dream and make some magic out of it.
If anybody types it into the chat box, I will let you know, but I will be the first to go out on a leash here, and I'll throw something out. But if anybody from this point on thinks I'm like some kind of psychotic Michael Myers killer, please don't. Because I'm not. Okay, so I have dreams, and it's usually, I have lots of dreams, but some of the weirdest dreams I have specifically are like dreams about people like dying in front of me, and I laugh and think it's hilarious. And it really bothers me because I wake up and I'm like, I'm not this kind of person, like I'm not like Jason Voorhees, and I'm not walking around like watching people die and thinking it's hilarious. And it's like, for example, there's a guy who's on my paranormal team. He's going to kill me if he sees this. But he knows I've had the dream. I've told him about it because I laugh about it and think it's hilarious. But his name's Chris, and I've had dreams that like me and him were walking upstairs to investigate somewhere, and as we were walking up the stairs started to disappear, and he just fell into like an abyss and died. And I just laughed and thought it was hysterical. Like it was like great that he was dying. And so that's probably one of the weirdest, like most reoccurring dreams that I have, specifically with like people dying in front of me, and I laugh and think it's hilarious.
Okay, so I have an opinion, and first of all, just as a synchronicity, I pulled one card. I have the card deck of the Dream Oracle cards, and I picked the falling card. So I think that's synchronistic. We can talk about that in a moment. But I have a sense that it seems like whenever there's a deep conversation about dreams, it always tends to cycle back to talking about death and what's on the other side. So it's just bizarre, the connection that dreams have with that state that we call death. Mm-hmm. To me, if you're laughing in a dream, if you're diabolically killing somebody, that's different than what you're saying. what you're saying is that people die.
Like right in front of me, and I'm laughing.
So to me, what that says is actually that it's a pretty enlightened state because, I mean, really, there is no death. There's just, and the other card that I pulled was transition. So that's interesting. And transition is about this whole, it's about death. It's about dying and how we move on from one phase to the next. If we were a more enlightened species, we would all laugh when somebody died. There's traditions in the Toltec mythology where they, I mean, actually not even the mythology, the reality, the Toltecs in Mexico have great celebrations when somebody dies. I know in New Orleans there's a bunch of people that will have a party and dance on the person's grave and like whoop it up and have like the big party because they know it's kind of like an ending and a graduation into another realm. It's not an ending in and of itself. So I would actually, if I were you, if it were my dream, Shannon, I would feel like I would pat myself on the back and say, good for me for knowing that death is something laughable. I don't know if you're familiar with Abraham, Esther Hicks. She channels an entity called Abraham. Are you familiar with?
No, ma'am.
She talks about, she's a brilliant channel, and she often will talk very seriously about death, and she refers to it as croaking, because she wants to use the most irreverent word for this thing called death, because death seems like such a heavy thing that we deal with, and she says she just talks about croaking, because it makes it funnier and lighter, because it's really not a reality unto itself. It's just a passing phase. Just like ice, if you heat it up, it turns into water, and if you heat it up, it turns into steam. So different layers of vibration, the very same thing, the very same life, it can change forms. And it's like us. We move into ether, we move into pure energy as we elevate, as we raise in vibration. It doesn't mean we're gone. I've had my own personal death experience, Shannon. I don't know if that's something you want to get into here, but I can honestly, from my own personal experience, say that when I died and I was on the other side for a good 15 minutes, I was not dead. I just wasn't in my body. I wasn't able to get my human body to animate and talk, but I was very much alive. I was very, very much here, but I was also there, meaning accessing a higher realm of wisdom. Yeah. So I think it's brilliant that you laugh at people that die. And I'd say your partner that fell, on some level, falling represents not just, sometimes it can be about being overwhelmed, but sometimes falling represents, there's a whole mythology about falling spirits that are calling us to them so that we can drop deeper into our depths and become grounded in a deeper aspect of ourselves. So it's very shamanic, I think, what your dreams are showing you. I think you are being initiated, actually. So,
wow.
Bravo.
Well, at least I feel a little bit more comfort knowing that I'm not like a future Jason Voorhees or something that, you know.
No. I mean, you're not going around killing everybody. And I mean, you're just kind of going, ha, 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 this thing. I mean, what's the feeling? Like, what is it that's causing you to laugh?
I don't know. Like, it just, when it happens, like, I'm laughing, and I'm like, well, when it happened with him, I'm like, good, it happened. Like, I was, like, excited that he fell and died. I don't know. It's the weirdest thing.
But
it's like a joy.
I'm curious, though, if we could, like, drill into that. I think it would be a really interesting study to go under a microscope and to see what it is that's causing that joy. Because I think there's probably a brilliant teaching inside of that for all of us, to not just the way that we could handle death, or that thing that we call death, and I say it with quotes around the edges, but any kind of change or any kind of thing falling apart. Like, to be able to laugh in the face of change and say, like a kid. When you change up a plan for a kid, it's like, whoa, what's next? All right, let's rock. Yeah. There's no trauma. It's like we're just playing a game.
Yeah. At least I feel a lot more comforted now, and I feel okay with looking into it, because at first I was like, people are going to judge me, but I went ahead and said it. So I mean, because that's the weirdest one.
This is often the experience that people, I mean, for different reasons, but this is often the experience that I have when I work with somebody, is that by the end of a dream coaching session, or dream life coaching session, which is what I call it, people tend to feel rewarded by their dream. They tend to find that, oh my God, I'm much more brilliant and wise than I ever gave myself credit for, and there's like a sense of being 10 feet tall, which is as it should be. You should feel, if you were more awake, you would feel even 100 feet tall. You would feel so good, because that's who you are. So dreams, or by doing dream work, you're able to access that realm of like waking up to the brilliant, beautiful, amazing being that you are. So, yay, Shannon.
Yay me! There was a question that popped into my brain as you were talking just then. As far as, how do you recognize, life-altering opportunities and certain kinds of opportunities in your dream? How do you differentiate, that kind of thing? Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, it's helpful to work with somebody. This is why I'm a coach and I hold the space for somebody, because I understand the language of dreams, and I can coach people, and I train coaches through my Dream Life Coach training program. But you can do it for yourself if you do some journaling. Like, I just spoke with somebody today that said that she's a fan of my book, I Had the Strangest Dream. She said, it's right by my bedside table. I wake up in the morning, I write my dreams down, I look up what the symbols mean, and then I journal about whatever it triggers. It always triggers something, and then I'll write about it, and then I'll stop and meditate on something that feels important. So that's kind of the simple way to do it. Like, you can't necessarily know from first blush looking at a dream. Most dreams at first blush just look weird or strange or crazy or bad. But if you take the time and do a little bit of work, I would say dedicate 15 minutes. She dedicates an hour a day. She's really like an A+ student. But even if you just put in like a good 15 minutes to being introspective with your dream, it will tend to reveal itself. And one way of doing that is to simply go, okay, here's my dream. What is this? What might this be related to? What am I going through in my life that this seems to be bumping up against? And if this dream, here's the big $1 million question. If this dream was giving me guidance about X, whatever X is in your life, then what might that be? And you might not know the answer to that right away, but you can meditate on it and know for sure that your dreams are on your side. They're like your BFFFF, your best friend.
Yeah.
And your best therapist. It's like the most wise guru and the best friend you've ever had, all wrapped into one, and they're trying to give you important information. And it's not usually what's on the surface of the dream. You usually have to drop into a deeper place in order to receive that. And one way of doing that is by the simple act of journaling. There's really, sometimes the insights will come to you while you're in the shower, or if you just meditate on it. Or later in the day, you'll be driving to work and all of a sudden, ding, something hits you and you're like, oh my God, how could I have not seen that? But the most deliberate way to access that is through freehand journaling right after having written down the dream.
Now, as far as, this is kind of a question that I had received when somebody found out that you were coming on, and I do want to kind of shoot it to you before we run out of time. People who have dreams, and when they have the dreams, they wake up, but they're still in the dream, but they can't tell the difference between the dream and reality. Where does that kind of fall into line?
So you're talking about people that talk in their sleep or walk in their sleep or do things?
Well, they don't necessarily talk or walk in their sleep. It's just they have certain situations where they wake up, but they're still in their dream, in their head, and they don't snap out of it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So there's technically speaking, there's the state of being right as you go in, when you transition from wakefulness into sleep. It's called hypnagogia, and that simply means that twilight zone state in between where you start to transition. And then when you start to transition out of sleep into wakefulness, that's the fancy name is the hypnopompic state, or hypnopompia. And really, there is this transition state where you are in between, and you're not in it, you're not dreaming, and you're not awake. You're kind of somewhere in the middle, and that's a genuine state of being. There's some people, however, that have, and it's considered actually a disorder if it's typical, that you really don't know, like you're really. Let me just say this. I mean, it's easy to put a label that kind of pathologizes. I tend to think that people that have, in their waking state, don't know if they're sleeping or waking. It's actually also a sign of genius, because it means that you've got what's considered thin walls. You've got, it's a thin world. It's a thin veil between this world and the next world. It's helpful when and if that is the case with somebody, to find ways to be able to prove whether you're in your waking reality or whether you're in your sleeping reality. For example, if a person really doesn't know where they're at, look for anything with numbers, because like a clock, a digital clock, or a license plate, or so let's just go with that. Anything with numbers. In dreams, nighttime dreams, the numbers tend to move around. They're not stabilized. So if you look at the clock and it's 12:01, you can look back a second later and it can be 5:03. In waking reality, it's not like that. If you look at the clock and it's 12:01, it might change to 12:02, but it's not going to change to 5:03 like that. So that's a way to be able to know. But I think your question was, what's the deal with that state of consciousness?
Yeah, I mean, or if there's something wrong, because when the person, first, actually, they're a friend of mine, when they first brought it to my attention, they were concerned that something was like wrong with them. And so, I was like, well, I have this lady on in a couple of months, so I'll ask her this question. And
it's not so much that it depends on how extreme it is, like how long that state persists. I mean, I'd love it if she wants to contact me. She can, because I feel like there's a lot of questions that I have for her to be able to answer her question correctly. But really, I mean, I think it's a useful state to be in that place where you're in between, and because in a way it's its own reality. And as long as she finds a way to be able to ground herself and stabilize herself so that she's not scared or worried. I know for me, there, especially when I get into a writing phase, when I'm writing my books and I'm really immersed in dreams all day long, and I go into the nighttime, I can have a hard time differentiating between which realm I'm in, because everything starts to blend. And that can be a little scary sometimes, but it can also be completely magical. The goal on some level is to become connected to our genius, and our genius is just like on the other side of the veil. So we want to have thin walls. We want to have a thin veil between this world and the next. But we also want to feel stabilized and grounded as we do it. Sometimes we move too far too fast. So I don't know that I'm addressing the question directly, so if your friend doesn't feel satisfied with this answer, have her contact me. And anybody, if they have a dream question that they didn't get a chance to ask, you can send me an email at info@kellysullivanwalden.com. info@kellysullivanwalden.com.
And if I remember correctly, because your website's up on the screen, there's like a submit box, and that you can just do that and get to you directly.
Yes, and if you have a question about Dream Life Coach Training, you can also go to dreamlifecoachtraining.com, and you can click on the button, and you can schedule a free 15-minute inquiry session with me about Dream Life Coach Training. And while we're talking about that, if you have a dream question, I'd be happy to throw that in. And I also book, if you want to book a longer session with me or find out and just join up for Dream Life Coach Training, I'll give you a great discount if you say that you've been referenced by Shannon.
Woohoo! So I do want to ask, before our time runs out here, what kind of things do you have going on in the near future? Do you plan on continuing your work with dreams or any kind of books?
Yeah, I'm working on a book right now, actually called Naked Dreaming.
Oh.
I thought you'd like that. It explores, to me, the real purpose behind doing dream work is to become as naked as possible, metaphorically speaking. Like to become like the baby that we once were. You know, babies are so precious, they're so innocent and so full of life, and we all have a little baby within us that's not the jaded adult that many of us are, and our dreams are helping us to shed the layers to becoming who we truly are, which is really that naked aspect of ourselves. And often our naked dreams, we're really ashamed. Like if we show up naked in a dream in public, we're like, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot my pants.
Yeah.
So I'm topless and I'm giving a speech in front of all these people.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's making me just blush thinking about it. It makes me feel embarrassed. Right. It does, because I can only imagine like how horrifying that would be for somebody.
Right. And those dreams, though, tend to be a symbol that there's some part of ourselves that we're ashamed of, or that we're afraid is going to be revealed, that we're afraid we're going to express an aspect of us that's too honest or too raw. But wouldn't it be great if we loved ourselves enough and we were so integrated within ourselves that even if one of our secrets was to slip out, we'd be like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like, the more the merrier. Like, the more transparent, the merrier. I think that's a sign of the times. I think back decades ago, it was really cool to have a thick veneer that was a real strong persona, like a mask. And I think nowadays, as we progress, now that we're post-2012, I think the name of the game is to see how revealed, how honest, how transparent, how real and naked can we be. And our dreams are a gauge to help us get there.
I think that's great. And once Naked Dreams is getting ready to come out, let me know, and I'm going to have you back on so we can talk about that book, because I'm already interested and fascinated.
We'll both be blushing the entire time.
Yeah.
It's a date.
Alrighty. Well, I want to thank you for being on, Kelly. It's been awesome and amazing. And once again, Kelly's website is up on your screen. It's currently above our heads. It is www.kellysullivanwalden.com. Also, next week, I do want to go ahead and remind everyone, I will have on David Franklin Farkas. So be sure to tune in next week to Paranormal Minds, same time, same place. And once again, Kelly, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure having you on. And I don't feel like a Jason Voorhees anymore. You have remedied something in me.
I'm so glad. Share those dreams with me.
I honestly thought like I was like on the verge of maybe a psychotic break, because it's not normal for people to laugh when people drop dead in front of them, you know?
Only if you're completely enlightened. My friends that are monks, they hang out at the cemetery laughing.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm okay. Maybe I'll be okay.
You're more than okay, Shannon. You're awesome. Thank you so much for having me on. This has been a blast. Anytime. Anytime.
Thank you. And we're gonna have her back on when her Naked Dream book comes out.
Okay. Sweet dreams until then.
All right, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you right back here next week. Same time, same place. Don't miss it. Bye.
Bye.